In this video, I'm going to tell you about why the quarterly boxes from Kill Team and Warcry aren't good for those games long term, and maybe not good for you either. Two things to start. I need a haircut, but I'm waiting a little bit longer until we get a little bit closer to Adepticon, and then I'll get the haircut. So today, Fez. Secondly, this is going to be a little bit more of an opinion piece than normal, perhaps. I'll want to hear your opinions about this down in the comments below as well. If you've been paying attention to Kill Team, sci-fi, and Warcry, fantasy, which are the two main skirmish war games from Games Workshop right now, since mid-last year, you'll know that they're now both running on seasons, right? So Kill Team 2021, which means it came out in 2021, the summer of 2021, is currently on a season that we'll call Into the Dark, because that was the name of the first box in the season. And Warcry 2022, which came out last summer in 2022, that's the Heart of Gur season, because again, first box. Even though Kill Team kind of rebooted the summer before, like they came out with a new version in 2021 and then put stuff out for a while, when Warcry launched like the new version of Warcry and started a season in 2022 summer, they both started new seasons, both games at this end, and I don't know if it's the right direction. Previously, like in the year since the launch of Kill Team 2021 to the start of the Into the Dark Kill Team season in mid-2022, these bigger boxes would come out about every quarter, and include two forces, terrain, a board, like build instructions, stats for the included forces, all that kind of stuff. And at the launch of Kill Team 2021, there was what we'll call a launch box, which was called Octarius. And it included tokens and rulers and dice and the core rulebook and all that stuff. Both of the forces in that box, which were Death Corps of Krieg, aka I don't know, they were calling them veteran guardsmen, and then Orc Commandos. Both of those forces were new sculpts, completely new. We'd never seen them before, right? Also, the terrain was cool, like Orc junkyard terrain stuff, which we kind of also hadn't really seen before, any kind of thing like that much. There was that mech shop thing and a couple of little pieces, but it was very cool terrain. After that initial box, the following like quarterly boxes, which were Chalnath, Nakmund, and Morok. They also included two forces, but in each one of those boxes, only one of the new forces was new sculpts. The other was a set of older models, the sprues from older models that have already been out for sale for a while. And then they also throw in an extra add-on sprue, which is new, which swaps heads and guns and stuff like that. More importantly, there was also different terrain in each of those boxes. You had like Imperial ruins in one kind of box. There was like an industrial sector in another box, and like Imperial fortifications and stuff like that. Now, admittedly, it was all Imperial, not, Xenos, but it was not that much alike. Then in early 2022 or so, Games Workshop told us over several different announcements in different, places, previews, the web, all these different places, that both Kill Team and Warcry were going to be following a new kind of season format with their releases. So over the course of the next year, there would be quarterly boxes, and all these boxes would be for battles kind of in a single place. A space hulk called the Galadark for Kill Team, and the Realm of Gur, which is like a jungly kind of, place. It's lots of beasts and stuff like that for Warcry. And I remember hearing both of these announcements, and thinking to myself, that seems odd. And I couldn't quite figure out why. Well, now we're 3 boxes in on both of these seasons. Soul Shackle for Kill Team and Blood Hunt for Warcry. Those were the most recent for each of the different properties, and they actually both came out the same day, a couple of weeks back. And now I know why I thought that this plan seemed odd. For the last 3 boxes, we've been getting the same terrain over and over and over again. Space Hulk walls, right? And meat trees. That's pretty much, and a lot of both. Admittedly, they've thrown in, obviously, extra little terrain sprues into each box, so it's not identical, but it's pretty close. There's a lot of repeats and then some extra stuff here and there. And it doesn't really make sense for these skirmish games. Each of these games only need enough terrain for their relatively small boards, right? Generally around 22 by 30, although the new boards for the Into the Dark season of Kill Team are like 24 by 27 and 3/4, I guess. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they didn't stick with that. Well, I do know why they didn't stick with it, and I'll talk about that in a second. There's a definite reason why we're seeing those boards specifically change. But therefore, once you purchase one of these boxes, right, any one of these quarterly boxes, whether it's the starter box at the beginning of the season, or whether you're just getting in now today at box 3 or whatever, once you buy a box, you have enough of that style of terrain for you to play these skirmish games. So why are they producing 4 boxes in a row in each of these new seasons with basically the same terrain over and over? The answer, and this isn't some sort of weird conspiracy theory, I don't think, or anything like that. It shouldn't be surprising to people who've been paying attention. The answer is in the Into the Dark boards, as I just mentioned. 2 of those kind of weird-sized boards make exactly the right size for boarding actions, which is a new style of play for Warhammer 40k 9th edition, where you are going in with a smaller, like 500-point force, and you're fighting on a space Hulk and all that kind of stuff. But you're using Warhammer 9th edition rules, not Kill Team rules, right? And 4 of those 22 by 30 Warcry boards, if you put them all together, they make up the size of a standard Age of Sigmar board, which is 44 by 60. So it seems that the reason that those of us who actually just play Kill Team and or Warcry, people generally into skirmish games, the reason that we're just getting the same terrain over and over and over again in our skirmish games season this year is because GW wants our boxes to be interesting to the 40k and the Age of Sigmar players, for them to buy and then fill out their terrain boards with Gallow Dark and Gur, Meat Tree scenery, and all that kind of stuff. But that gives the Kill Team and Warcry players, frankly, the short end of the stick. As a Warcry player myself, there's no reason to buy more than one of these boxes over the course of the season. Once you have enough terrain for your 22 by 30 board, why would you need more of the same style of terrain? Now, if the terrain changed drastically in each box, then maybe a second box in the same season would really strike my fancy and get me to pull the trigger and buy it, right? But these new season formats, that's not happening, and it's the same with Kill Team. Well, what about the models in the box? I mean, if you've already bought one box out of this season, maybe you'd want to buy the next box for the 2 warbands or kill teams that are in it, right? If it does happen that both the teams included in the box are each something that I want, which is frankly pretty rare, but it did happen with the Sundered Fate Warcry box recently with the Jade guys and the Lizard dudes. They were cool. Then if I want, I can just wait 3 months or so after release of this quarterly box, and then they'll put out each 4 separately for $60 each, which will be considerably cheaper than buying a quarterly box at around $185 these days and getting a whole bunch of terrain that I don't want any more of. So why are they doing this? It kind of seems like it's not going to attract more Kill Team and Warcry players to buy these quarterly releases. Well, as I said, they're trying to make these boxes more appetizing to 40k and Age of Sigmar players, which is a little odd, at least as Boarding Actions is concerned, because they also sell a Boarding Actions terrain set for $210, which will have you covered for playing that game variation all in one box, terrain-wise. You need the boards and everything you got. And $210 is considerably cheaper than 2 of these Kill Team quarterly boxes. But more importantly, it's cheaper for them. If Games Workshop had to come up with completely new terrain kits for each of these quarterly boxes, for Kill Team and for Warcry, that would be a total of 8 separate sets of terrain for the 2 properties over their seasons, right? So 4 for Warcry and 4 for Kill Team. That's a ton of design time, a ton. Concepting, all that kind of stuff, coming up with the design, on paper or whatever, how that goes, then going through, doing the actual 3D sculpting and all that jazz, then iterating, feedback, Like everybody in the industry puts a lot of time into their models. Games Workshop probably puts some of the most, right? And then once you finally get everything all completely set, then there's hundreds of thousands of dollars to create all of the different molds for 8 different sets of terrain. But doing it the way that they're doing it currently, where you're getting a lot of the same pieces repeatedly over and over, it reduces all of that as far as cost is concerned. There's a bunch of main pieces that are going to be reused over and over in each box, so that's less design time, less molds. There are small little bits that they turn into small molds that are different add-ons for each box, but again, small molds, smaller price, and it doesn't cost as much to design that stuff because it's not nearly as big and elaborate and all that kind of stuff. So that's how it saves Games Workshop money. But what about the community long term? We never know Games Workshop's sales numbers at a granular level. Like they, being a public company, they have to talk about sales numbers, but they don't necessarily say how much of each product that they made and how much they sold and all that kind of stuff, right? We do know that as of this filming today, Warcry Blood Hunt is still available on the GW United States site. However, so is Sundered Fate, which is the previous quarter's box as well, still available on the GW US website, which might be a bad sign for these Warcry boxes, I gotta be honest. Now, Kill Team Soul Shackle sold out during pre-order globally, but it had the Arbites guys in it, which a lot of people really kind of wanted to get their hands on for sure, so I get that. And 2, we have no idea how many they actually produced up front, so selling out of maybe a smaller number, it's hard to say. So maybe this whole concept is working for them as they're kind of focusing on the army scale markets with these boxes for skirmish folks. But maybe it's not a good idea for these games themselves long term. If you wanted to get into Kill Team like right now, you can't get Into the Dark on the website anymore. As always, check your local game store because they may have that stuff in stock still. It always depends. I think that my local game store still has a copy of Into the Dark available. But you can get a $100 Kill Team starter box with the Orc Commandos and the the Veteran Guard, and it comes with so those 2 forces plus a board, and it comes with the dice and the rulers and the tokens and all that stuff because they got the fancy weird rulers with the symbols and all that stuff. They also sell an Essentials box separately, which is just basically the tokens and the dice and the weird rulers and all that kind of stuff. So you have that option as well if you don't need the other stuff. Then you might buy one of these other season boxes if you want the Gallodark, walls and doors and all that kind of stuff, and you'll have everything you need to get into Kill Team. It's not the same with Warcry, sadly. The Heart of Gur box is, again, out of production, and so, check your local store. And there's no $100 starter like there is for Kill Team. There's also no Essentials set for you to buy that has like the tokens and all that kind of stuff and the dice and all that. Again, you can use regular dice and you could make your own tokens, I suppose, but all that stuff is sort of nice and helpful for getting into the game. And without it being sold, you can't get the dice and tokens easily. And those things don't come in the quarterly boxes after the starter, right? Which would be Heart of Gur in this situation. You can get the core book and the compendium. Well, actually, the compendium is still available as a free download on Warhammer Community, so check there. You can get those things separately, but it's a lot harder to get started in Warcry right now. If it was up to me and I was running the show, there'd be the $100 starter box, like the one currently available for Kill Team, available for both games all of the time, like maybe up until like the last 6 months before the new game comes out. I would also not put them on a 3-year schedule. I would maybe make it a 5-year schedule, but I've talked about that before. This helps, though, to get people into the ecosystems when there is a starter that they can get and it is in stock and in production, right? Then I'd probably bring separate things out and not have the big quarterly boxes, as a matter of fact. I'd release new Kill Teams and Warbands each quarter and maybe 2 big terrain releases for each of the properties each year. So I'm not having to put out 4 of them, but then they can be different from each other. And lastly, maybe a campaign book for each season and then like a Kill Team annual or a Tome of Champions, whatever, for each year as well. Sadly, as it turns out, it's not up to me. All I can do is tell you why I think that these quarterly boxes aren't great for the long term of Kill Team and Warcry. They might be good for sales, we kind of don't know, but I don't think are good for the long term of both of those games. What do you think, though? Have you been buying all of these boxes for the game, or if you play both games? Or in the case of Kill Team, are you trying to buy them since they've also been selling out, probably to 40K folks who want more terrain for boarding actions? Also, what would you do if you were running the show at Games Workshop for skirmish games? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this sort of deep dive into my opinion or whatever, hit the like button down below to help out the channel, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this kind of thing. I've been doing this for a long time, and I do certainly have some opinions. Thanks for watching.